Welcome to the Empress Lioness, a sacred space where the spirit roars and the soul remembers everything. In each episode, we sit with visionaries, founders, creators, and healers. I'm your host, Karen Mitchell. There comes a moment in a woman's life when surviving no longer feels noble. It feels heavy, and she realizes the life she built to stay safe is not the life her soul came here to live. Today's conversation is for the woman standing at the edge of her beginning. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to the Empress Lioness podcast, the sanctuary where women rise into their power, reclaim their voice, and step boldly into the life they were born to lead. I'm your host, Karen Mitchell, the Empress Lioness. And today we are holding space for a woman whose story is not loud, but it is deep. Not performative, but true. My guest today is Isabel Drawn, a woman who embodies quiet power, emotional truth, and the courage it takes to rebuild yourself from the inside out. Isabel's journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who she was before survival taught her to shrink. Isabella, thank you for joining us on the Empress Lioness podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So before we jump into what you're doing right now, before the titles, before the work, before the woman we see here today, who were you before the world told you who you needed to be?
First of all, you are my person. For the simple fact is just the fact that you asked that question, because so that's the question I ask people even when I meet them. Yeah. It's not what they do, but who are you? And I
Yeah.
think it's very important for us to do that. Thank you so much for that question. It took me a while to start discovering that, but I'm still on the journey of discovering who was I, remembering who God created me to be. But I'm starting to understand myself a little bit better. I'm an empath, right? Very humble. I
Yes.
love love. I'm a recovering people pleaser.
I love that you said that. I think we all
Yeah.
need to get there.
I have to put recovery in it. And it's just like we all have our thing, right? You have people who are recovering from alcohol, recovering from this and that. I don't even look down on people who use, because let me tell you, it is the same thing we all experience, right? Just like somebody's addicted to something else, addicted to people pleasing. So I am a recovering people pleaser, a mother of three. My kids are my world. Very, very proud of my children. Wife, I'm a business owner. I'm the founder of Loud Whisper, Reignite Your Voice, where I empower women to amplify their voices and get connected to themselves and truly understand who they are, who God, for me, the higher power, whoever you subscribe to, created you to be. I did mention I'm a wife, founder of Loud Whisper, and my husband and I own a construction business where I'm a co-founder for that. So other than that, and slowly I love to dance. I love music.
Oh,
I'm a yoga instructor. That's why
wow.
I love it when you ask that question, because we don't get to really know people, because we always want to know what people do and not
Yeah.
who they are. So thank you so much for that. I'm a marathon runner,
Wow.
26.2 miles, two-time marathon runner. So yeah, this is me in a nutshell, and I'm a student of life.
Oh, wow, that is
Yeah.
incredible. You would never think that you were all those things just looking at you. We never look like what we've been through or what we
No,
truly are. People just see us
no.
for surface
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
But I want
Yeah.
to go even further than that. I want to
Okay.
know, yeah, I want to know where you grew up. I want to know what your family structure was like. I want to know
Mm.
what inner child was before all of these things, before you were married, before you were a mom. I want to know,
Mhm.
Isabel Drawn, who was that little girl?
Thank you for that. Wow. I'm originally from Tanzania, actually Tanzania and Zambia, which is the eastern and the southern part of Africa. My father was Tanzanian, my mom Zambian, and I always say I was very, very proud African. My father worked in this foreign service, so I was fortunate enough to be able to live in different countries and travel the world. Went to boarding school at a very young age. I think it was the age of 8.
Oh,
when I went to
wow.
boarding school. So lived in different countries, went to different schools. And yeah, my mom is from Zambia, my dad is from Tanzania. My family structure on my mother's side, I have three other siblings. On my father's side, I have three other siblings. So I know it sounds crazy, but just to let you know that my mother and father had me, and yet they have their own siblings, right? They have their own children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I am that child. I am that only child between both my parents.
Wow, you bridged the gap
I
in
did bridge
between
the
the
gap.
relationship. Wow.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, but fortunate enough when I was born that even the woman that raised me, which I don't even call her my stepmother, she's my second mother, she passed away too. I was fortunate enough to be raised by two women
Yeah.
and traveled the world. The little girl inside of me, geez, this is a deep one because nobody has really asked me this before. Listen, I am getting acquainted to that little girl inside of me. She had been through so much trauma, so much pain, and not
Wow.
really understanding who she was. And I'll tell you why. Most people don't realize it that even with the life that I lived, I grew up with a sense of not feeling like I belonged anywhere. For the simple fact is, I was moving from one household to another constantly. I'm
Yeah.
going to my dad's household or I'm going to my mom's household. Yeah. So that within itself created confusion and a sense of abandonment when it came to me as a little girl. And the abandonment came, I think, only we don't realize it mostly as parents that although both my parents were in my life, I was not with my mom all the time, you know? So I was
Yeah.
living a life where I was everywhere. So with that being said, I grew up with a sense of abandonment, grew up with a sense of, despite the fact that I was fortunate enough, my father had a great job in foreign services. I've traveled the world, I've lived a good life. This is where we have to understand that material things don't mean much. I always had this sense of not feeling worthy.
Wow.
And because I didn't feel worthy, I gravitated to people who didn't think I was worthy, but they didn't treat me the best. Right. So
Yeah.
the little girl inside of me has experienced emotional, physical, mental abuse. I've been through that. And it's through this journey that now when I sit and I look back, for the longest I walked around and I lived my life as a victim. I don't know more. I understand that my journey was for a purpose. You
Yes.
know, I understand that the trauma that this little girl went through, feeling abandoned, feeling like you do not belong, looking for love in the wrong places. You know, as much
Yeah.
as my father gave us the world, bless his soul, with everything that, with the life that I lived, being a diplomat's child, never tell people all the time, my father has never told me, I love you. So I never knew what it felt like to be loved
Yeah.
from a man. So what I did was as a little girl, because of the sense of abandonment and not feeling good enough, I found that quote unquote love that I thought was love through men. So I was not with the best people who treated me the best way, but
Of
it
course.
never made sense to me because that's what it looked like. I didn't know what love looked like. I
Yeah.
didn't know what it looked like to love me. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that taught you how to be strong instead of supported?
Ooh, that's a very powerful question. When we go back to being strong, what has taught me to be strong is the women that I saw growing up as a young girl. As I mentioned, from all walks of life, right? So
Yeah.
these women, they're courageous, resilient, powerful. Even the women who had tomatoes on their head, going to
Yeah.
sell at the market. You know, when I see them back home in Tanzania or in Zambia, to me, those women were powerful, strong women. They just didn't own a
Very.
Rockefeller building. So the reason why I go back to that and say that, that's where I lent my strength from, right? Watching those women and then move to America, 8,000 miles away from home at the age of I was turning 17 and then had a kid at the age of 19. What happened to me innately was, as all of us all know, you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
So that strength, oh man, I got it from those women, just watching those women. And they gave me the best part of that, of being resilient, courageous, powerful, and strong. The only thing about the strength that they gave me was society's expectation of what strong looks like.
Yeah.
I love that you asked that question. I no longer subscribe to the strong woman cape or wear the strong woman mask. For the simple fact is, especially for women in general, but specifically for women of color, it
Yeah.
leaves us broken. They've given us this idea that I always say society measures the strength of a man by how much weight he can carry, and yet they measure strength of a woman by how much pain she can endure. So
Yeah.
I noticed when I was growing up during my traumatic days, I had a child at the age of 19, 8,000 miles away from home. Okay. So I became a child who became a mother who needed her own mother. But then my mother's 8,000 miles from home. It was not the best situation at all. But what I found quite interesting as I grew up was everyone around me gave me this badge of honor that I was a strong woman.
Yeah.
And the only reason why they did that was because of what I had endured, you know? And as I started going through life, God showed me something different. There's two different definitions of strong. There's the God-given strength and then the society strength. And this
Mm.
goes to answer your question. Society strength left me broken. I knew deep down inside I needed help, but I didn't even have the courage to ask for help because everyone around me called me strong because of my traumatic experience. And then now I'm like, no, what I needed was help.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was a child who had a child. But I had to continue wearing that mask and wearing the cape because I've seen this from the time I was born. All these women around me, just strong, just enduring things. So, no, who am I to start and say, I need
Yeah.
help? So, I had to walk around like the strong girl with raising my son and all that kind of stuff. And it's as I was journeying through life and through my own healing experience, had more children, got married, what I noticed was I became those women that I saw growing up. My aunts, my mothers, the women, the professional women, the stay-at-home women, and the women that were going to the market, which let me tell you, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if it was not for them. But
Yeah.
also, I inherited the fact that this strong idea that kept me silent. That's what God showed me. So that's the part that I had to drop. And God showed me there's a difference, right? And society has taught us different, has taught us that, oh, be a strong woman, be a strong. What does that mean? What does that look like? And we want to say we want to be a strong woman, but let's be honest, it's breaking us, especially as women of color. I'm tired of being. I don't want to be strong. I want the soft life. I want someone to
Yeah.
cuddle me like a little girl and say, "Are you okay?" I want someone to check on me. I want someone to not always make me feel like I have to make the decisions. I have to be the one standing in the front line. But that's the story that we've been sold by society, especially as black women. Yeah. So God showed me different. God showed me I am strong, but I have an innate strength. It has humility. It has power. It has resilience. It has courage, but it's a God given strength. That strength does not break me. That strength allows me to rest when I'm tired. That strength allows me to say, my God, I need help. Without being ashamed, that
Yeah.
strength allows me to say it's okay to not be okay. But society's strength doesn't do that. It just keeps us on all these expectations. And that's why you see a lot of women, we're tired inside. We're broken inside because we're not allowed to be ourselves. So to finalize, I love that you asked that question. And I went on because I really want to talk about this topic and teach women you have to understand that this notion, this thing of a strong woman, it's not sustainable. It's
Yeah.
not sustainable. It changes because it has society's expectations. And as we see, society's expectation changes as time goes. So you find yourself constantly adhering and wanting to live up to these expectations that do not serve you. And all it does, it leaves us in a perpetual cycle of pain, perpetual cycle of not knowing who we are, in this perpetual cycle of trying to become someone who does not exist because you're trying to fulfill society's expectations of who you are, who you should be, and why you're here.
Wow. But I want to ask you, what or when was what was the moment you realized the life you were living no longer was sustainable?
The moment I realized that the life that I was living was no longer sustainable, I had that. You know how we have the feeling, and I call it the loud whisper, right? That's why my business. People ask me why loud whisper. Loud whisper is because women are screaming for help on the inside. And no, can you hear me? Why loud whispers? Because women are screaming for help on the inside, but nobody hears them because it comes out as a whisper. And I say that this is not my career. This is my calling. You can't hear me? You can't
It
hear me
seems
at
like
all?
I can hear you now. I was trying
Okay.
to motion you to come closer to the mic.
Okay. You can
So
edit
just
that.
start from the beginning and I'll have them edit that out.
Okay. Okay. Ask me the question again. Is this better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Yeah. Let
Just
me put
always
this
stay closer to the mic because I realize that when you move back,
pull back and have
yeah.
it. Okay. Ask me
Okay.
the question again.
Sure. So, Isabel, what was the moment you realized the life you were living was no longer sustainable?
That's a very powerful question. I don't know if I had a particular moment, but like I say, we all have this thing where we call it a gut feeling. For me, it's that whisper. And that's why I have loud whisper. People ask me, what is loud whisper? Loud whisper is women screaming for help on the inside. And nobody hears them because it comes out as a whisper, because we've been conditioned to suppress ourselves and suppress our voices. So my job, I always say this is not a job for me. It's not a career. It's a calling. I want to create impact to help women amplify their voices. It was just not that one moment. It was series of moments. What I knew though, what I knew for a fact, and I never named it, I didn't accept it, I wasn't really aware of it because I myself, I was in denial. Something was not right. Something didn't feel right about how I was living deep down inside. I'm a mother, an entrepreneur, business is doing well, friends, family. From the outside looking in, everybody's like, she has it all figured out. I wish I could be like Isabel, right? They're
Yeah.
like, she has it all figured out. But what they didn't know was this. While those things were true, right? Deep down inside, I didn't feel like myself. My soul was heavy. So it was God showing me through different steps that my heart just didn't feel right. Something was not right. And that's when I started on the journey. But I know the moment that I knew this was it, I was turning 40. And normally on your 40th birthday, people say, I'm going to buy this new gift or I'm going to have a huge party. For whatever reason, my 40th birthday, I just kept on feeling like I needed to do something for me, something for me. And I said, don't buy anything expensive. Do not have a party. What came to mind was, because I spent many a nights, and I know a lot of women probably experience this, even if I was doing well, I'm a high achiever. Everybody is seeing me. I want to be like Isabel. What a lot of people didn't realize is I spent many a nights, and I mean many a nights, more often than I wanted to, gazing up in the ceiling night after night, asking myself, is there more to my life than this? There got to
Wow.
be more to my life than this. But I remember when I was turning 40, I said, do something for yourself that will require you to be committed to yourself. That means you don't buy anything expensive. You don't have a birthday party. You have to do something for you. And the reason why I did that was because as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, women were so good at doing for everyone else. I'll give you a short example. If my children or my husband comes to me and says there's something that they want to do, okay? I'll be like, sure, what is it? And they're like, okay, this is the deal. It's going to cost this much. Even if I look at the price, I'll be like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. But what I noticed about me for years when I wanted to do something for myself, the slightest thing of whether it was money or whatever, I'll be like, oh, never mind. I'll just do it another time. So year after year kept on going. I'm living in suppression. I don't have joy. I'm neglecting myself. I was
Wow.
abandoning myself. And I told myself, I said, what you're going to do is find something that will require you to be loyal to yourself. Because I had a habit of betraying myself and
We all.
abandoning myself. You see
Yes.
that? So I challenged myself to do something that would require me to be loyal to myself because I was not loyal to myself. I decided to run the Chicago Marathon 26.2 miles. I know.
It's
A lot of
different.
people are like, come on now, Isabel, you couldn't do anything else but run 26.2 miles. No, I couldn't think of
Wow.
anything else that would have challenged me to really be loyal to myself. Because self abandonment should have been my middle initial, right? I
Yeah.
was so good at abandoning myself. I was so good at saying, oh, no, that's okay. I'll do it for you. But you have to realize more, we don't think about that. You asked me earlier about the little girl. She was used to abandonment. So
Yeah.
that came natural for me.
Yeah. For so many women too. But
Mhm.
how did your body respond when you finally stopped
Listen.
overriding your truth?
Listen, first of all, when I knew something was happening is when you're doing the marathon, you have to train. I always tell people, I've done it more than one time. The marathon itself is not the hardest part, it's the training.
Training. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to train 26.2 miles. And I'll tell you this really quick. What really started making the shift, I remember it was my eighth mile. So what that means is if you can just picture this with me, I had to run 4 miles to my destination and 4 miles coming back. Great. I started my run that morning, that training. I did the 4 miles. But something was different that day. I gave in a cry thinking about it. As I was running, I kept on felt like I felt lighter. But I started crying too when I was doing my 4 miles. And I remember when I stopped and I had to come back the 8th mile, I say to myself, gosh, I have to run back another 4 miles. I'm like, I wish somebody can come pick me up. Where's the car or something? But little did I know that was the day that of my awakening. Because as I started running back those 4 miles, Aaron, let me tell you, every step I was shedding. Every step I was crying. At first, I
Wow.
didn't know why. It was me letting go slowly and gently of my shame, of my victimhood, of me not feeling good enough, my self worth, the
Yeah.
things that I did to myself or the things that I allowed people to do to me. I didn't realize. And I'm not telling people to go run a marathon. Now, that's not what I'm saying to do. Do what works for you. I'm just crazy like that. But that's the day, honestly, if someone can really ask me what shifted, I surrendered that day. I
Wow.
truly surrendered, not only to myself, I surrendered to God, and my prayer was heal me. And that's
I'm your host, Karen Mitchell.